Hey guys, tonight we delve into the thrilling world of knights and samurai. Picture the clash of metal and the roar of battle cries as we step back into a time when honor and combat prowess determined your fate, and quite literally, your stature. We're setting off on an adventure that spans continents, exploring the awe-inspiring lives of knights in medieval Europe and the equally fascinating samurai of feudal Japan. Both had their own codes of honor, unique weaponry, and a flair for the dramatic arts of warfare. So, grab your virtual sword or katana, depending on your allegiance, and prepare yourself for a journey packed with legendary sword fights and ancient armor secrets. But hold on, a cheeky little reality check. You probably won't survive this epic collision. That's because we're digging into times when personal safety wasn't assured by airbags, but by one's skill with a blade. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Trust me, you don't want to miss what lies ahead. Oh, and why not let me know where you're tuning in from by dropping your location and local time in the comments below? It's always fun to see how far our little storytelling community reaches. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together as we explore the origins of knights and samurai. We begin with the origins of knights, coming into prominence during the medieval period in Europe. Imagine a landscape dominated by imposing castles, sprawling estates, and the gentle clinking of chainmail armor. In this feudal setting, a peculiar societal structure that might strike you as Netflix's attempt at dark medieval drama. Knights were the linchpins of military power and chivalric honor. Born out of necessity in an era rife with invasions and territorial disputes, these mounted warriors became symbols of duty and valor, though their motivations often featured a blend of noble and self-serving pursuits. The feudal system, a pyramid scheme if ever there was one, became the backdrop for the knight's ascension. Land was exchanged for military service, binding lords and vassals in a network of loyalty and obligation. Think of it as LinkedIn for medieval warriors. Only instead of endorsements, you had battles to prove your worth. Historians still argue whether the system was more about genuine allegiance or simply a way to manage the complexities of medieval warfare. These knights were not born. They were made through a process that began in childhood, birthing a new generation of sword-bearing, horseback-riding elites who were the medieval rock stars of their age. Our knightly pals wielded swords and lances not just in the name of their lords, but often for their own glory as well. When not busy engaging in sword clinking and questing, a word that might ring more of video game quest today, they sat festooned in lavish halls, listening to courtly tales or joining grand feasts. They knew how to enjoy the perks of their treacherous day jobs. Any fears or hesitation young boys might have had about growing into such roles seem to have been overshadowed by the image of empowerment these armored figures enjoyed. Here was a career path with a very distinct dress code. Heavy and glittering armor complemented by a credible steed, a package promising adventure and a life driven by the oft-lauded chivalric codes. Think of it as the ultimate blend of prestige and peril. Amidst this chivalrous revelry, let us not forget our counterparts across the waters in Japan, who are crafting their own distinctive class of warriors. Those we'll focus on soon enough, but for now, let's cherish the thought of European terrain dotted with castles, bustling markets, and knights, such dashing figures in polished armor, often extolling virtues both admired and controversial, always ready for the next adventure, or perhaps just a cup of mead after a long day's ride. As your curiosity sharpens like the edge of a samurai sword, we cross oceans to the lands of ancient Japan, where the tale of the samurai unfolds. The gentle rustle of cherry blossoms marks the serene backdrop to what was actually a remarkably complex and often tumultuous period in Japan's history. Here, amidst the mountains and the vast plains, rises a class of warriors bound by duty, honor, and occasionally governmental paperwork that would make even the most patient among you cringe. The samurai, whose very name conjures images of precise swordplay and flowing robes, didn't just spring from the earth one fateful day. Instead, they emerged from the unwieldy chaos of Japanese regional conflicts during the Heian period, around the 9th century. Picture this. The land is divided and ruled by several powerful clans, each with their own ambitions, rivalries, and, spoiler alert, desires to be the top dog of Japan. Who wouldn't want to rule a serene island nation with divine status and access to an unending supply of matcha? The need for an efficient, elite warrior class grew as clans struggled for supremacy. These early warriors began forming distinct ideals and practices as they honed their military prowess. Originally, they were called bushi, rather the samurai. Bushi had yet to fully distinguish themselves by the philosophical and cultural codes we associate with the samurai today, but they were well on their way, armed with bows and mounted on horseback, carving out a space in their ever-changing world. If you're imagining this as an ancient high school drama with cliques and social hierarchies, only with swords instead of pom-poms, you're not far off. Historians still argue whether it was the inevitable rise of these fierce warriors or the fortunate collapse of central imperial power that allowed the samurai to solidify their role from bushi to the class of swordsmen we're captivated by today. As the samurai class grew, their distinguishing code, Bushido, also matured. But we'll save the saga of Bushido and its profound impact for later. For now, let's indulge in the intriguing life path and evolution of these would-be samurai. Their genesis might feel a bit like the story of a startup that began in someone's garage. Only this startup was about swinging swords and implementing order through battle. Imagine intense board meetings fought with swords. And here's your quirky tidbit. One of the earliest depictions of samurai in action involves them using not swords, but bows and arrows as their primary weapons. Seems like swords were the tight pants of their day, a fashion statement acquired a bit later in their timeline. This was perhaps not as impressive for the medieval parlor talk as wielding swords, but quite effective when aiming from a moving horse. A critical moment in the samurai's rise was the Genpei War, 1180-1185, a 5-year tussle that was the final showdown between two dominant clans, the Taira and the Minamoto. Think of it as a samurai opera, complete with dramatic betrayals and breathtaking battles. This conflict not only birthed military dynasties, but paved the way for the samurai to culminate as the dominating military force, etched into the very fabric of Japanese society. As shoguns rose to power, samurai pledged unwavering loyalty to their lords, enforcing peace and law with lethal efficiency. In truth, this paved a diverse path of samurai, ranging from noble warriors defending their lords to ronin wandering masterless, perhaps pondering deep life questions like, do crickets really enjoy the Ninth Symphony they orchestrated? Take a moment to imagine the harmony, the blend of peace and martial preparedness that only a seasoned samurai could encapsulate. Though the cultural differences are stark, the samurai and knights shared curiosity-driven commonalities, as their emblems became enduring testaments to their times. And are they not enticing mirrors reflecting each other's ethos? In the next chapter of our tale, we will dive into the tenets that marked their way of life and standards of conduct. What distinguished them? What bound them? It's time to truly embrace the spirit of the samurai and knightly orders, so tightly woven into the annals of history. Word count 1086. As the echoes of clashing armor fade into the background, you now find yourself in the midst of medieval Europe's rolling landscapes, standing amid sturdy castles and verdant fields. This is the heartbeat of our knightly origin story as we delve into the emergence of knights. More than just warriors, they were the cornerstones of feudal society. Originating in a time when survival depended on your ability to defend land, The rise of the knight was inextricably linked to the feudal system, a socio-economic arrangement straight out of history's most competitive management simulation game. Land was the currency of power, and it was a precarious balance between power and obligation, loyalty and ambition. In essence, the feudal system was like a medieval insurance policy. Pay your dues, serve your lord, and perhaps one day you'll feast at the round table rather than serve it. If you think of knights only as noble warriors gallantly saving damsels, you'd only be half right. Sure, they mastered horseback combat and owned enough armor to outfit a heavy metal band, but their allegiance was a strategic nod to a feudal ladder so complex it makes modern workplaces seem like child's play. The intricate feudal contracts were the stuff of legends, promising vassals protection and land in exchange for military service. But you can bet there were no friendly HR protocols if someone called in sick to a joust. Influential magnates capitalized on these systems, rallying men to their cause. A form of social networking developed. Instagram has nothing on medieval heraldry. Everyone was eager to exhibit their family's coat of arms. This groundwork allowed knights to wield influence far beyond the battlefield, crafting alliances, playing pivotal roles in courtly intrigue, and on occasion being flat-out plotters in royal dramas. It was within this formidable framework that the chivalric code emerged, a formal blueprint dictating a knight's conduct. You can picture it as the ultimate knightly handbook, do's and don'ts of knighthood, with sections on embracing valor, respecting ladies, and gallantly tilting lances at each other. Chivalry's origins might seem almost mythological, but under its surface, they reflect some of the era's deeply rooted socio-political structures. And for our quirky spotlight, here's a nugget. Tournaments were more than mere sporting events. These jousting extravaganzas were the medieval version of the Super Bowl, minus the halftime show, but definitely with its fair share of fanfare and medieval pepperoni pizzas. Knights honed their skills, forging reputations, and testing their mettle, all while indulging in playful yet deadly games of combat and failing spectacularly, on occasion, in arm wrestling contests. Historians still argue whether chivalry stood as a moral compass or more of a PR front, obscuring knights' often ruthless pursuits of power and wealth. But regardless, it was impossible for knights to become legends without its romantic notions. With knights firmly established in the European landscape, their legacy deeply entwined with the rituals and values of the Dark and Middle Ages, we shift to a wholly different world. The samurai, whose origins took shape amidst the ebb and flow of Japan's clan warfare and budding societal hierarchy. A tale for our ears soon enough. Meanwhile, back in Europe, our noble knights are ever ready, riding into their destinies with fierce loyalty, sharpening their lances, perfecting their practice reels for those tournament reels, and possibly thinking about the next crusade banquet menu. Oh, how they adored a good medieval feast. An era brilliant in bravery and bound by obligation, ready for us to explore just how these secrets of metal and might grew into some of history's most enduring myths. Stay with me as we dive next into the codes of honor that power these legendary beings, chivalry and its Japanese equivalent, the Bushido. Word count, 1057 byte. Navigating through the tapestry of time, we find ourselves entrenched in the very essence of what governed a knight's path, the chivalric code. In medieval Europe, where not slipping on your armor in front of the noble crowd was considered a non-negotiable aspect of life, chivalry wasn't just about knowing which fork to use at a banquet. It was a complex system of values and conduct as rigorous as a university's entry exam, but steeped in the allure of mystique and nobility. Chivalry encompassed an ethos that reached far beyond wielding a sword with style. It was a knight's moral GPS, directing ideals ranging from bravery and courtesy to honor and gallantry toward women. Essentially, the ultimate multitasking guide in an era where showering was optional. Funny enough, some elements even find their modern reincarnation in the rules of, say, cosplaying. Yet, like all human constructs, chivalry had its quirks and contradictions, an ideal that knights aspired to even amidst heroic battles often colored with shades of opportunism. In relying upon this code, knights transitioned from mere armor-clad fighters to paragons of virtue, or so the ballads say. Picture early literary influencers spinning tales of Arthurian legends, knights bolstering their camaraderie in the Hall of the Round Table, and chatty Cathys of yore dramatizing their exploits with just the right touch of embellishment. While reality often proved different, those stories cemented knights more firmly in the realms of myth than mere history would alone. The virtues were manifold: justice, piety, humility, and honesty, to name a few. Yet, paradoxically, these principles often veiled the strategic maneuvers of monarchical ambitions and courtly plots, effectively dovetailing knightly duties into the fabric of political machinations. Historians still argue whether these codes indeed influenced knightly behavior, or whether they acted more as unattainable ideals, behind which knights hid their less noble deeds. Love letters of the era leave you wondering. The courtly smile scribbled on, the bold flourishes anchoring empty promises of allegiance. Chivalry was nothing if not complex. As you ponder the gentlemanly facade, here's a quirky sidebar for the record. Jousting, synonymous with chivalric pursuits, evolved almost into an Olympic sport, sanctioned for its elegance and spectacle. Knights adorned in full regalia often spent more time rehearsing tilt than combat. Hard to imagine, given the pool noodle leanings modern reenactments might suggest. These tournaments were dazzling public spectacles, the medieval version of your local Renaissance fair tuned to ultra-hard mode, where reputations were forged and shattered in equal measure. Behind the lances, and yes, the damsel-saving glory, existed pragmatic self-interest too profound for mere words, a subsistence of right place, right time alliances granting knights far more than just glory. Rich tournament prizes swelled the coffers of the chivalric. Dowries were negotiated in hushed tones over hearty banquet tables as noblemen sized up potential allies. And yet, for all that, there lived an undeniable yearning within these knights, a spiritual quest within that amorphous code, striving to create an ideal self, to reconcile the tempestuous beating heart with a peaceful soul. Chivalry, as the more sensational tales would have us believe, might seem like the stuff of old tales, a spectacle capturing both court and the field. But the essence of these stories testifies to a deeper truth. Not simply what knights purported to be, but what they desperately wanted to become. Such is the allure and deceptive simplicity of the chivalric code, a melody of intentions drawn high above the clamor of conflict and plunge of despair. Thus, the knight stands woven into the vast tapestry of medieval lore, resplendent in armor, head high with a glimmer of gallant ambition in his raw, battle-weary eyes. As we continue, we leave behind these tales of knights as we step across the shores to their eastern counterparts and explore the muscle and mind of the samurai, that finely honed Bushido spirit that demands our attention next. Word count 1045, leaving the chanted echoes of knightly halls. You wade into the calm, yet fiercely disciplined realms of ancient Japan. The air is painted with tranquility, yet underneath lies a powerful undercurrent of potential. This is where we plunge into the essence of Bushido, the legendary and exacting code that shaped the lives of samurai warriors. Imagine an ancient scroll being unfurled, each brushstroke declaring the virtues that samurai must uphold. If chivalry was a song sung in the lands of knights, Bushido was the symphony orchestrating the rhythm of a samurai's life. Translating to the way of the warrior, Bushido became the moral bedrock upon which samurai built identities that sparkled with both discipline and edge. Bushido was built on 7 pillars: righteousness, courage, benevolence, respect, honesty, honor, and loyalty. Basically, an exhaustive list of New Year's resolutions you've probably broken after 2 weeks. Yet, to a samurai, these weren't just ideals. They were a lived philosophy, shaping every decision, every breath, and every swing of the katana. Think of Bushido as a stringent GPS, recalculating at every moral junction, demanding the utmost adherence to integrity. But as we peek behind those samurai battle masks, we uncover the duality inherent in Bushido. Historians still argue whether the concept was more romanticized posthumously than practiced faithfully in real time. Was every samurai truly a stalwart philosopher warrior, or did the reality align more closely with the gritty everyday life of soldiers? The debate adds texture to our wanderings through the annals of history. Bushido's reach extended beyond the personal and into governance, permeating Japanese society with its uncompromising standards. This made samurai not just fighters of skill, but figures of respect, their actions cementing societal norms. The absence of chivalric tournaments didn't mean samurai life lacked ceremonial grandeur. Rather, their traditions were steeped in introspection. Meditative swordplay and tea ceremonies weren't just leisure pursuits. They were slices of spiritual existence. In one of the more iconic quirks of the samurai, we find the quintessential practice of seppuku, or ritual suicide, a stoic act reflecting deep-rooted honor. Intense? Certainly, but it speaks to the powerful commitment to honor that necessitated taking one's life to avoid disgrace. You won't find practicing safe swordplay in their manual, but you might consider adopting that particular motto elsewhere. On a lighter note, haiku, a mischievously succinct type of poetry, also emerged as a pastime amongst samurai, encapsulating their artistic flair. Even warriors needed a break from brutal combat, and what better way than constructing verses more succinct than a tweet? It finds samurai not only adept with swords, but verbally dancing in 17 syllables. The legacy of Bushido extends through time, even influencing World War II's Japanese military ethos, clearly demonstrating the lasting impact the way of the warrior had on national identity. Bushido was timelessly compelling, a potent blend of discipline and artistry, continuing to inspire modern renditions of samurai ethics. But as much as this profoundly rich tradition fortified the warriors of Japan, even Bushido couldn't fully encapsulate the swirling realities of samurai life. The preferred sleep position, which tea pairs best with honor, and whether silence remains golden even in times of conflict. While the passage of time may have muddled the hard lines between once rival warriors, knights and samurai held vigilant to their distinctive paths of principle. While knights clung to chivalry's grandeur and pageantry, samurai grounded themselves in the quiet repose of Bushido. Next, we sharpen our investigative swords to focus on a knight's formidable armor, foreboding and ingenious as it dominated the European battlefield. Word count 1056. Picture this. The clang of metal echoes through the air as you stand amidst a medieval armory, feeling the cold, unyielding touch of iron. Welcome to the world of knightly armor. An ingenious marvel of medieval technology that was as much a work of art as it was a testament to battlefield survival. The armor a knight donned was no mere costume. It was intricate and purpose-driven, designed to protect against the litany of threats dispatched from the proven artistry of opposing weaponry. This ensemble included the helmet, the breastplate, greaves, gauntlets, and the chainmail hauberk, all meticulously crafted to provide a balance between mobility and defense. Walking in, those would make any regular workout seem pleasantly enjoyable. Raising a sweat wasn't optional, it was part of the training. Historians still argue whether a knight's armor made him invulnerable or just a slow-moving ornament with a serious risk of overheating. Armor metamorphosed over centuries. Early designs made of simple leather and chainmail gave way to exquisite articulated steel plate armor as advancements allowed for more refined craftsmanship. With mobility adjustments made with the attention to detail of a Swiss watchmaker, knights turned into living, breathing tanks of the medieval battlefield, minus the heated seating. The helmet or helm held a special place in this ensemble, regarded not only as an asset for protection, but often showcasing crest and family insignia, a signature that was essentially the medieval version of checking into a battlefield on social media. Halberd in hand, a knight cut an unforgettable figure, a veritable fortress on horseback. Beyond protection, there was a layered societal symbolism to consider. Armor bore not just the marks of battle, but also the identifiers of feudal rank and heraldry, whether through intricately etched designs or ornamental choices, because even back then, fashion was quite literally a matter of life and death. The more intricate, the higher the rank, although sometimes less was more, shiny yet functional simplicity. Yet, the whimsy of it all lies in moments of levity, where knights might discover that there are downsides to this life of gleaming splendor, such as when you realize you need a small troop to don and doff this metallic exoskeleton, a gentle nudge at any claims of independence. Here's your quirky tidbit. Knights often needed the help of squires, not just for arming but also for stirring formidable courses at feasts, flaunting not just martial prowess but also culinary curiosity. An innovative layer lay beneath the exterior, padding made of linen or wool, known as a gambeson, providing both comfort and additional protection. The gambeson, more breathable than you'd expect, could even double as casual dinner attire in a pinch. A knight's fashion sense was matched only by its practicality. Among the many weapons, the sword held a mythical status, representing not merely a tool of combat, but the embodiment of the knight's sense of duty, a cherished heirloom passed through generations. The sword's keen balance was engineered for devastating efficiency in the right hands, making it an instrument of honor and legacy, and beyond the battlefield, armor became a subject of display, represented in opulent tournaments, demonstrations of martial prowess, and chivalric pageants. Here was the full circle meeting point of practicality and pageantry, a reflection of both knightly function and the ostentatious, often flamboyant spectacle of medieval society, a prelude to the rock concerts we've come to adore. Having armory lore under our medieval belts primes us nicely for peering into the practicality and grace of samurai armor. Let's embark next, uncovering artistry styled for embracing the pulse of battle, straight into the realm of their eastern contemporaries, the samurai. Word count 1056. As we emerge from the clang and shine of knightly armor, your senses adjust to the subtle precision of samurai gear. The aesthetic is different here, an artisanal blend of practicality and cultural expression that defines samurai armor, or o-yoroi, where each piece speaks volumes of its wearer's spirit and artistry, like an eloquent haiku in solid form. Samurai armor was a fusion of lightness and protection, ingeniously crafted to allow swift movement across the battlefield. Picture layers of lacquered plates, intricately laced with silk cords, each thread a tribute to centuries of discipline, each knot a story of fortitude. Unlike the mass of metal slabs our knightly friends lugged around, samurai favored materials like leather and iron plates, arranged in overlapping designs. This wasn't just East meets West in design. It was strategy emblematic of the samurai's adaptive warfare style. An immediate standout is the kabuto, or helmet, with its pronounced crest and demonic mask, designed to strike terror into the hearts of enemies or cause them to contemplate a drastic career shift. The kabuto's formation wasn't purely about fear, it was a testament to the artisan's mastery. Each samurai helmet was unique, often resembling a work of sculptural art. These headpieces crowned warriors with both protection and intimidation flair, showcasing how dramatically taste over time has shifted from helmet plumes to more crowd-acceptable baseball caps today. The do, or cuirass, was the central piece of the armor, meticulously constructed to cover the body while still offering flexibility, a samurai Pilates outfit decades ahead of its time. Made from scales or plates bound together by silk or leather, the arrangement provided both defense against arrows and the lightness required for swift dodges or advances. Armored sleeves, shoulder guards, and the sode, or thigh guards, all added to the ensemble, transforming each samurai into a walking narrative of their status. The genius lay in the Lilliputian details, where the knight's armor screamed fortified stronghold, samurai armor whispered impenetrable grace. And here's a delightful morsel for your imagination. Samurai were known for carrying tessin, iron fans that served as weapons. These were practical for their dual functional purposes, fending off arrows and gracefully cooling oneself in the process. So, yes, while knights had their footmen to handle the sweltering weight of armor, samurai could conquer battlefields with the mere flick of a fan. Talk about having gadgets in your toolkit. The iconic weapon, the katana, a masterwork designed for precision and speed, complemented the armor with lethal synergy. Its forging process was ritualistic, echoing the spiritual depth that enriched the samurai ethos. Complexity and perfection captured in the blade's curve suggested more than mere cutting power. It represented a battle-ready metaphor for the samurai's razor methods of Haman, or edge hardening, that enchanted even the historians exploring the silent secrets of Japanese steel. Yet, even with all of this exquisite gear, samurai faced battles that didn't always conform to codes of elegance or choreography. Historians still argue whether samurai managed to maintain their revered codes during the dire vagaries of war or fell into the enticing chaos that combat generates. After all, every piece of armor carries stories. It is born not just of the battles it encountered, but of the culture and philosophy it was designed to uphold. In transferring both practical application and artistic finesse into each armor element, samurai served as cultural emissaries, etching the chapters of their history onto shields and helms. Their armor tells stories of warriors adorned not just for combat, but ingrained with the beauty and intricacy of their world, a true testament to Japanese craftsmanship. As we pivot to knightly origins once more, taking upon the road of training traversed by knights and samurai, it reminds us that these warriors were, at the heart of it all, deeply human, with aspirations and dilemmas echoing through their armors of stone and silk alike. Our next venture into the training yards unravels how these scions evolved from hopeful novices to honorable titans of their times. Word count, 1061. You find yourself amid the rolling pastures and the hum of the medieval English countryside, where young boys are about to embark on the arduous journey to knighthood. The path from squire to knight was no mere walk in the abbey garden. It was a life-transforming process demanding nerve, skill, and near hound-like loyalty. At the tender age of 7 or 8, eager lads were sent away from home to learn under the tutelage of experienced knights, trading the comforts of home for the bustling halls of a noble's castle. Imagine a Hogwarts-like environment. Sans spells, but with a healthy dose of swordplay and armor fitting. And you've got the essence of a knight's early education. As squires, they learned skills far beyond combat. Sure, they practiced mastery with a sword and learned to ride a horse as naturally as they breathed. Still, they also studied court etiquette, the management of estate activities, and that fine blend of servitude and fortitude required to shine in the caste system. Washed and polished armor wasn't just expected, it was a calling card, and heaven forbid if they mixed the miel de fleur with coarser meadow honey. Disaster at breakfast would surely ensue. Historians still argue whether this melange of combat and courtly skills was adequate prep for their future responsibilities, or if it resembled more of a trial-by-fire method. Yet these sold-out medieval boot camps, with their tilt yards and archery ranges, honed the young squire's skills and scruples. They crafted discipline and resilience through tending to their lord's falcon and clambering under tables when a boar got loose during a feast. Squires would shadow knights into battle, serving as assistants and potential lifesavers, not so different from being promoted on your first day and wondering what exact support means when your boss is neck deep in a frog pond. As time-worn veterans of arduous campaigns shaved off the unruly jitters, hopeful squires also engaged in chivalrous battles of wit and strategy, thinking ahead while sharpening the trusted sword under a canopy of stars. Upon reaching their late teens or early 20s, these young men faced the trial of investiture a sort of coming-of-age rite where they pledged fealty within a grand ceremony that combined elements of jubilation and solemnity. The dubbed knight rose to their feet, oath-bound and title endowed, making their mark among the ranks of illustrious defenders of the realm. Stirring the beliefs bounded by faith, a newly minted knight was to uphold virtue, seated on the strict tenets of the chivalric code, a weight matched only by the clanking armor they wore. The art of defense was transformed from brawny boys into galvanic guardians of dazzling pageantry. And here, dear listener, is the lighter twist. While being knighted meant earning countless opportunities for valor, it also involved ritualistic practices deemed layer cake puzzling to decipher. Young knights faced the inevitable errant chase of sheep gone rogue, or balancing the sport of hawking, which often proved more challenging than taking Crimea Nougat diverts. But all of these experiences, honed through the daily grind of a knight's youthful apprenticeship, needed tying up in one memorable cloak of duty and honor. With gleaming swords braced at their sides and loyalty fortified in their hearts, these young knights converged at court and battlefield alike, shimmering echoes of ancient promise and undying tradition. So, donning new mantles and legendary aspirations, knights entered the grand halls of time's tapestry. But let's not leave the path of becoming without seeing how the diligent samurai youth forged their own noble destinies on distant shores, crafting equally invigorating legacies of law, warriorship, and discipline. Word count, 1058. Turning your gaze from the medieval training grounds of Europe, we travel to historic Japan, where the air hums with the melodic clang of bamboo swords, a taste of the disciplined world snaring young samurai. The journey from aspiring youth to full-fledged samurai was a path well trodden with perseverance, commitment, and a touch of theatrical flair. Though born into samurai families, young boys underwent rigorous training from an early age, exercising the adage, "Start them young." Their lives began under watchful elders, immersed in a milieu cultivating martial skill, spiritual depth, and intellectual acumen. You might assume sleep-ins followed by brunch, but a samurai's day started with rigorous drills, from grappling arts and archery to horseback combat. Picture your local gym, where every piece of equipment needs a sword safety tutorial. Academic pursuits paralleled physical training, immersing boys in haiku and Confucian teachings, a cultural finesse absent in many modern sports schools that prefer sitcom humor as a late afternoon class. Historians still argue whether these new warriors were more philosophers or swordsmen. Kendo, the art of sword fighting, became a young samurai's primary combat platform, mastered through endless repetition until techniques embedded in muscle memory and wiser heads could literally anticipate the slice of a fast-approaching hammer blow. In an era where electronic safety switches remained the stuff of futuristic fiction, real swords sharpened those burgeoning skills, urging reflection upon every strike. When to fight and when to sheath, crafting internal conflict resilience through outward blade choreography. It wasn't all sweat and cuts. The samurai's world was a mosaic of poise and etiquette. Tea ceremonies and calligraphy lessons transcended the teapot and brush. Mastery required balancing deftness of hand with quietude of mind. Artistry often demanding more focus than battlefield skirmishes, because who needs dodging arrows when brushstroke precision is your afternoon curriculum? Beyond drills and pleasantries, young samurai adhered to Bushido, the code dripping with spiritual integrity. Equal parts honor, guide, and survival manual. Bushido did for samurai training syllabi what Craigslist slowly achieved in modern classifieds. Ever-regulated guidance ensuring smooth transitions between roles among layers. It was counsel that nudged youthful warriors towards practices overseen by a circle of elders, discerning which warrior heart earned, reprieving paradigms from short-lived conflicts rampant across this majorly isolated island nation. The time-honored Genpuku ceremony marked their transition to adulthood, typically celebrated between ages 12 and 14, an age where we generally only entertain the drama club and algebra, seeming just slightly less foreboding than the ceremonial head shaving. This act symbolized the end of childhood and commencement as full members of the samurai class. With the spirit soaring high, the newly accepted were gifted a real name, armor, and a proper sword. Taking a cue from Disney's Cinderella, transformation was complete, if not a tad weighty in its millstones of responsibility. And for a charming tidbit, did you know the samurai partook in sumo wrestling as essential practice? That's right. The thought of future warriors engaging in friendly grapples overshadows the squeaky trunnions of scrimmage as a stolid reminder of how necessary a warrior's holistic development proved essential. So, whether balancing privilege upon the tightrope of discipline or finessing martial precision, a young samurai's journey intertwined honor, skill, and the eternal quest for understanding. As junior samurai emerged into the world of warriorship, laden with custom, promise, and as much grace as their open-toed footwear would allow, let's turn back to the battlements beyond camaraderie to consider the bastions of chivalry, knights in the realm of castles, a glimpse into their stories sheltered beyond the call to arms. Word count 1 through 74. As dawn paints the medieval landscape with its golden hue, you find yourself exploring the world beyond battle, inside the formidable yet enchanting stones of a knight's domain, the castle. Here, life flourishes in myriad forms beyond the clang and chaos of warfare, where armored gallantry turns to steward a society structured by power and protection. The castle, with its stone walls and towering battlements, served as both home and fortress, playing a critical role in the medieval ecosystem. This wasn't just a fortress primed for defense, it was a lifebuoy of civilization amidst the waves of conflict, a central hub bustling with daily vitality and medieval wisdom. Picture the inner courtyard brimming with activity, blacksmiths hammering out horseshoes, kitchens wafting the savory scents of feast and preparation, and perhaps a bard penning verses under a shady bough. Life within a castle balanced the rigors of defense with the mundanity of daily life. A carousel of correspondence that spun between stress about supplies and strategy discussions under the gaze of heroic frescoes. Knights, when not donning armor, were landlords who managed estates, ensuring those within battlements thrived, albeit with that occasional pomp and circumstance only a potentially hazardous scroll mishap could evoke. From the complexities of land stewardship to squabbling serfs and even a cheeky jest from a court jester, knighthood transformed into a multifaceted existence. A knight's day unfolded across the dimensions of chivalric obligations, hosting banquets, bestowing favors, and furthering alliances. Inside these walls, diplomacy often unfolded over tankards rather than through lances, a principle that feels reassuringly maternal for politicos across eras. The prosperity of lands governed through allegiance wasn't an ad hoc fairy tale. Rather, it was cleverly etched into title deeds, served with grace in volumes of law and homage. Yet, beneath these solemn pursuits lay undercurrents of indulgence. Historians still argue whether a knight's blissful bound leisure overtook their sense of fealty and ethics. It begs tantalizing scope to reflect upon. Do they honor courtly guests with whispers of diplomacy or exude more mirth and mirthless concerns? Such questions linger about how knights lived when bustling cities brimmed with pompous ceremony, routinely translating royal decrees into whispered poems over cherry-stuffed pheasant under a starlit canopy. And if there's something rather nonchalantly curious about medieval life, it's this. Chicken washing, a medieval pastime where plumes were dusted off from energetic roosters with loving fanfare. Bardic spoofs about wet pedal tournaments resurfaced more than deciduous oxygen rites for seasonal glee. Beyond fairy tales and daily spectacle, castles became repositories for hoarded texts, cryptic tomes filled with trade secrets of alchemy, the sci-fi of its age. It was here that knights conversed, drenched in Latin prose acquired in their travels. In a time before a podcast, these high places cradled thought, logic, and folly beneath their castles' quiet eaves. Especially notable when the eaves contained oratorio hummingbirds, just in from an upside-down abbey Easter egg nestling pilgrimage of flora theology. Safe within these stone walls, knights contended with politics, mingled in arranged handshakes over wine, and strengthened sovereign ties. Loyal lords polished candelabras and host invitations with splendid heraldry, while feasts and dances bonded alliances through hilarities, as did rosé-stained trysts under mistletoe trivia fugues. Here lay a vivid realm, colorful with intrigue beyond conquest, and within this vibrant hum lie the heartbeats of knights' retreats. With tales of castle life fully ensconced into your being, let us voyage across the seas towards Japan once again, in search of how samurai clans mirrored their harmonious existences while conquering the everyday with purpose and precision. Word count 151. Leaving the echo of castle halls behind, we traverse back to Japan. Its landscapes a blend of serene beauty and the quiet authority of samurai estates. It's here, amidst tranquil gardens and the delicate curve of tiled roof lines, that we uncover the world beyond the battlefield for a samurai, a realm steeped in loyalty, family, and the time-honored duties of stewardship. The samurai estate, much like its knightly counterpart, was a bastion for governance and community. Picture manicured gardens where the soft susurrus of water runways forms an auditory backdrop to the daily proceedings. Stewardship marked not by heraldry, but by the subtle grandeur of ikigai, the pursuit of life's value. Within the confines of these estates, akin to the stately presence of castles, life unfolded with a rhythm carefully tuned by customs and honor. Functioning as miniature societies in themselves, samurai homes, whether nestled in bustling towns or the solitary expanse of the countryside, became vibrant centers of activity. One moment involved simple tea ceremonies, the next strategic huddles over boundary disputes, resolved with the diffuseness of harmonizing origami bird properties on hinges of agreement. Samurai, having pledged their lives in service to their daimyo, lords and feudal overlords, dedicated themselves not only to combat but to maintaining these familial holdings. Think of stewards with multitasking exponents. You could argue they perfected SEO long before it became an internet brainchild. Land, rice, peasant welfare. All facets of estate management that mingled with maintaining honor and overseeing serfs. Echoing soft echoes of serendipity bound by pagoda secrets. Family, community, and duty nested within these walls. Here, the Edo period equivalent of surprise HOA meetings magnified. Samurai gathered to hold discussions with artisans, merchants, and neighboring samurai on policy and enterprise, keeping livelihoods thriving through confluences of wisdom and tangents in kimono warrior business talk on expansive futons. Historians still argue whether samurai retained their traditions under the surge of reforms, constructing board-like knights controlling arbitrary allocation of cocoa wafers and persimmons. Yet truth pervades in their unyielding tether to familial oaths, the core axis upon which samurai authority steered like directors mirroring castle life, albeit sans cloying bias. A loyalty between vassals and their daimyo wasn't lightly taken, invoking layers of trust and responsibility fashioned by an unspoken honor subset. Let's pause for a refreshing tidbit. While knights had falcons, samurai groomed bonsai trees. These miniature arboreal wonders weren't just horticultural hobbies, they were metaphors. Biotic manifestations in whose shape the very essence of harmony took root, mirroring the balance sought in a samurai's discipline. Life here involved daily births, as courtyards acted out dioramas, seeing children, partners, and elders all enmeshed, celebrating feasts and festivals that marked seasonal shifts. Samurai homes became great books of bounty, filled with generations' worth of teachings and traditions. The Breakfast Club meets Exhibit A of meandering serenity under cherry. Shared discussions under starry skies unfolded more than relic chorus, binding communities through the art of storytelling itself. Between elaborate kabuki plays and quiet meditations, The heart of this life pulsed not just through wielding sword, an estate nurtured samurai legacies and resplendent whispers, passing through time, transcending Tosa and Toyota amidst Kamakura backdrops. Yet, through these tranquil scenes ran the unwavering thread of loyalty, a fabric dyed into the very soul of samurai existence. As their estates hummed with activity, these warriors balanced the domains of mild bureaucracy and martial excellence, embedding their significance into Japan's historical tapestry. Each estate a repository of cultural continuity and martial splendor. With your senses tuned to the whispers of estate life, lend your ear once more to resounding battlefields and strategic might, where knights and samurai confronted foes with precision and valor, weaving their expertise to propel themselves and their stories across history's stage. Word count 1074. As the sun peaks over the horizon and morning mist lifts from the valley below, you stand among the ranks of knights ready for battle in the undulating fields of medieval Europe. Imagine the unmistakable clang of swords and the hearty snort of war horses. You're about to wade into the storied realm of medieval warfare, where knights employed cunning strategies and deft tactics on battlefields that echoed with heroism and havoc. The medieval battlefield was no flat chessboard. It was a complex arena where geography, weather, and morale played as significant a role as swords and shields. Battles often resembled grand chaotic dances, knights at their center, coordinating maneuvers akin to a theater play without intermission, elaborate as far as individual skits raised through clattering lyres and flying banners. Mounted knights were the medieval war machines, renowned for their cavalry charges that could break an opponent's line like a battering ram through gingerbread. Their lances raised, they cut through enemy formations with tremendous force, like a jousting tournament on steroids. In full armor, a knight and his steed were awe-inspiring. They weren't just combatants. They were the tanks of their era. Every tilt mirrored a dance of choreography, echoing a legacy spanning these battlements laced in layers of woad cries. Yet, not all was reliant on brute force. The masterful use of strategy by knights involved phalanxes, squares, and formations made more geometrical than your high school math homework. Historians still argue whether the efficacy lay more in the intensity of these strategies or perhaps a decent ratio of luck and espresso. Those tiny pauses to ponder repaid keen-eyed practitioners amidst the fog of war. To outwit opponents, knights prioritized communication and signals, often employing horns, drums, and banners to convey orders. The battle standard wasn't merely decor, it was the medieval walkie-talkie, ensuring units stayed informed and engaged amidst calamitous clanks of neighbors' well-armed clashes. If one happened to trip over the standard post instead of catching it, jousting practice padded bets on sideline quarrels. And here's a quirky nugget for your armor-clad bag of facts. Siege warfare was a knightly specialty. Deployments of trebuchets, catapults, and battering rams were the medieval alternatives to bringing in a wrecking ball. These massive devices hurled projectiles to great distances, toppling walls, and starving cities into submission, but only after umpteen attempts required oiling and off-frantic lumberjacking. As dawn's light kissed helmets and hilts, knights also engaged in nighttime skirmishes, a risky but sometimes effective tactic leveraging darkness. Daytime victories often depended on early surprises hatched at dew's kiss or bonfire overture under diaphanous starry tapestries, crescendoed over empirical ground, rehearsals contrived strictly through headquarter whisperings. When it came to fortifications, knights also excelled in the defensive arts. Castles and fortresses dotted the landscape as impenetrable bastions of defense, shields raised against invaders, symbolizing impregnable strongholds by nature's demand. Sieges turned into protracted duels of endurance, testing defenders' skills and supplies, a peculiar struggle often buoyed by the occasional antics of jesters lobbed over walls in needful comedy. So, Within the tumult of campaigns, knights honed their acumen for combat, not only in the clash and cry of swordplay, but through an expansive playbook of tactical maneuvers and siege strategies. They became storytellers of strategy, etching tales of valor and resilience into Europe's very soil. Proof of these alchemists at arms painting histories that continue to inspire awe. With insights gleaned into the knight's battlefield tradecraft, turn your eyes eastward to view an equally refined but distinct stage. The samurai's landscape of action, where agility and precision crafted another chapter of martial prowess. Word count 1053. Shifting focus from the thundering hoofbeats of European knights, your senses now attuned to the calm, calculated cadence of the samurai on the battlefield. Picture the sun rising over early mornings in feudal Japan, casting long shadows across the terrain as samurai warriors ready themselves. This is where their legacy emerges with breathtaking mastery and immaculate precision. Hallmarks earned over centuries of storied conflicts. The samurai approach to warfare was an elegant blend of strategy, skill, and stoic honor, met with the indomitable precision of their art. Samurai didn't just wield weaponry, they harmonized with it, forging an inseparable bond through which they orchestrated the choreography of battle. Swordsmanship wasn't just combat prowess, it was performance art. The timing, precision, and technique as disciplined as the calls of starlings at dusk. Samurai held mastery over myriad weapons, each suited to particular combat situations. While the archetypal katana, a curved single-edged sword, dominated their tool set, they also excelled with the naginata, a pole weapon, bows, and even surprise melees, including quips blended seamlessly with elaborate pillow fights. You'd think slumber parties run by these warriors flaunted sharp wit and sharp eyes, leaving legends forgotten under hewn pillows. Unlike the knight's mass charges, samurai adopted the intricate dance of calculated, decisive strikes. Picture the battlefield as a go-board, strategy unfolding through layers of patience and foresight. When two samurai faced off, it was as much about intellect as blade skill, sword strikes dictated by an unseen rhythm, an unvoiced understanding that took years to refine. Historians still argue whether battles were won by sheer strength or the prowess of quieter maneuvers that echoed reverberations only audible to those deeply attuned to the way. Samurai warfare also embraced formation and order in an orchestra of calm before storms. Fierce caterpillars threading trees poised as tightly packed regiments, waiting for cue throws into chaos's own serenade. In war councils, samurai crafted these plans diligently over the black brew of powdered tea. Decisions often mirrored in the meticulous whisper of lacquered armor. One cannot overlook the profound influence of philosophy on samurai tactics. Bushido imbued strategy with the moral seriousness of an anecdotal tea spill, where feigned humility could glean insights and a neighborly bow hinted alliances. It wasn't just about winning, it was about integrity and conflict, a constant dance between virtue and pragmatism. Raise a laugh with this unique tidbit. Samurai often used war fans or tessen, iron-ribbed fans, both as weapons and signaling devices on the battlefield. There's something endearingly whimsical about a soldier's secret, wielding two-digit weaponry to facilitate communication, whispering strategies and sounds of paper veins, anticipating fun and fury depending upon onlooker observatories. The benefits of geography and technological advancements sculpted Japan's war strategy as it adapted to synchronize naval acumen with terrestrial confrontation. Samurai were adept at defending hilltop fortifications and disrupting supply chains, with lower forces splicing trade routes when opportunity bloomed. As twilight descended upon the battlefield and samurai reflected on their day's duel, there remained the profound acknowledgement of honorable passage. Kicking gravel or paying haikus of 466, actions threaded their tapestry influence through every syllabic challenge. Along battlefronts, they harbored patience and honor in equal measure. Captured within their precise choreography, the samurai left indelible marks as calculated craftsmen of warfare in the evolving tableau of Eastern history. Their story remains steadfast and flourishing amidst banners unfurling strands sewn in unwavering precision. With encroachments upon samurai tactics and influence now carved into the pages of theater, let us feel the heartbeat shift, exploring how broader questions tether life and belief between realms, where religion and belief blended splintered worlds under faithful tongues upon sword sand sought anew. Word count 1062. As our journey pivots from the battlefield to the celestial canvas above, we find ourselves enmeshed in the spiritual fabric that guided both knights and samurai. Religion and faith, ethereal forces as important in shaping their worlds as any sword or steer, guiding doggerel overture and battle finesse. For knights, Christianity acted as both compass and anchor, illustrating not just the path of valor but serving as an omnipresent force in medieval Europe. Embodied as much in the grandeur of cathedrals as in the quiet solace of private prayer, faith permeated every layer of a knight's life. Every campaign bore sacred overtures, prayers of protection before battles, or solemn masses whispered over distant fields as ethereal echoes hugged moonlight contours, frosted within Europe's perimeter glow. Christianity imposed commandments, layering Christian doctrine with chivalric glint, molding decisions both atmospheric and strategic. Under the banner of crusades, claiming divine sanction often melded, exploring, conquering, and faith. Quests unfurling as pilgrimages to foreign shores outlined in dazzling mythos of sanctified arrows and crosses, all airbrushing stars. Yet, while religious undertones sanctified deeds, historians still argue whether faith alone kindled these events or if power and prestige gleam behind selfless shrouds, as parchment veil drawing multitudes into the penances narrated in workshops craft. To contrast, samurai found spiritual sustenance in Buddhism, Shintoism, and aspects of Confucian ethics, a multifaceted melange of belief systems sculpted by Japan's unique cultural landscape. Buddhism, imported over centuries, colored samurai philosophy with elements of Zen, a practice emphasizing meditation, introspection, and enlightenment as warriors sought inner peace amid the tempest of life's chaos. In Keida's and later cursed tofu farce debates, inward reflection framed tensions through each samurai's chosen lens. Shinto, with its pantheon of kami, divine spirits, added another layer to this spiritual tapestry, its rituals and traditions harmonizing communal aspects, thus forming the emotional resonance within ceremonies, marking both essential rites and personal milestones. Samurai often sought the blessings of Shinto shrines, their foundations bound as much in reverence as a sense of duty, aligning themselves with hues of endeavor matched seamlessly to spirits traced into varnish, as rust-cracked as pennant's chain lilt. Despite philosophical allurements, historians continue to debate whether these warriors were true Zen monks or more nominal practitioners, a juxtaposition suggestively persisting, blurring delineations across religion's pliable theater, redefining dichotomies reaching English sentient shade. And in our journey through the currents of belief, here's a curious tidbit. Many samurai practice kakejiku, the art of hanging scrolls, often containing prayers or Zen sayings. In effect, displaying their philosophical commitments akin to curating an art gallery meets life coach ethos, proof that decor influences truly live beyond Pierre Python's frog-dipped sushi. Faith threads wound through life both in Europe's Cistercian cloisters and Japan's Zen monastics offered solace beyond the chaos, nurturing personal discipline while allowing warriors reprieve. Communing with spirit worlds framed motivations deeper than ambition, unveiling elements of unearthly interplay and reputed sovereignty, puzzle pieces revealing intricate lace forged of varied hand-woven stitches, spoken ships murmuring over wooded grandeur as a cultural synthesis, steps echo within velveteen palettes, spheres born of celestial inflection. As belief systems guided minds and actions, they wove strands of morality and purpose within our heroes' journeys, fashioning epic narratives more lasting than ephemeral valor. These spirits reach beyond individuals, stitched ribbons into the grander tapestries of cultural individuality across time. With the foundational influence of faith understood, let us steel our narrative lens on stories of legendary valor, tales spun not only in conventional warriorship, but within unexpected stories of heroisms by women, knights and samurai, whose timeless echoes continue resonating across history's moon-swept labyrinths. Word count 1059. A soft twilight descends, casting an ethereal glow upon a tapestry of tales less told, those of heroines who carved their names into the mortal stonework of legends. As our trail meanders through time, we uncover stories of women who defied tradition's chains, stepping forward into the arena with courage and grit. Female warriors in both knighthood and samurai ranks, transforming historical records into narratives pulsing with defiance and devotion. In medieval Europe, where societal norms tethered women to the hearth, a few standout figures bruised those confines, embracing the life of arms. Joan of Arc, the Maid of Orleans, blazed meteoric trails across history's canvas. Her visions, perceivably divine and rousing battlefield leadership, inspired France in pivotal moments during the 100 Years' War. A reclamation epic as evocative as holy sceptered shadows reflected in wheat fields gleaming in geometric wisdom. Joan, donning armor as any knight, bypassed conventions with the determination of archangels, asserting herself amongst ranks traditionally banished to curved varieties and spooky notarized Uncle Calves. Her courage sent tremors reverberating through feudal realms, but not without consequence. Historians still argue whether her leadership was a beacon or stood as mere pawn to pawns on broader political seams and ecclesiastical cuffs, a kaleidoscopic gauntlet that powered narratives whispering smoke-uplifted wings. In Japan, a parallel tapestry of legendary women emerged, heroines echoing tenacious spirit within samurai traditions. Tomoe Gozen stands as one such figure, a formidable woman warrior of the late Heian period. Known for her prowess in archery and the art of the sword, Tomoe's valor glittered amid the Genpei War, 1180-1185. Figures searching amidst notions luminous as apertured ladders faced on constellations and reed-craft shores. Tomoe's accounts linger through oral traditions, framing her as a consummate samurai, both relentless in combat and poised in martial grace. In a world governed by fierce male warrior codes, her narrative emphasizes the formidable strength and adaptability of women warriors to transcend societal parameters, intrinsically foretold by doctrines faint as dewdrop dreams towers. Whether fighting from horseback or leading invincible tactics, Tomoe exemplified a spirit of Toro, ethereal lights illuminating tales along the dust-shaded processionals. Empowered figures like these demystify misconceptions, reaching beyond gendered limitations, chronicled absconding scroll sentiments, revealing that desire to fight for potential resonated in the thunderous heart of heroes, regardless of lineage strands or societal instructions labeled breakable for crew gaffers only, or so paintbrushes whispered in their phrasal gramophones. Here's a quirky gem to add to these rich narratives. Legends say that Onabageisha, or female samurai, frequently wielded the naginata, a versatile pole weapon favored for its reach and precision. Perfectly suitable for sidestepping battles, yet attending court soirees filled with immersive fragility exchanges likened to paisley shrines, vibrant as sea breeze flattery tokens. These tales of remarkable women are irrefutable testaments to the depth and diversity found within the spheres of chivalry in Europe and Bushido in Japan. They remind us that so-called conventions are permeable narratives, capable of expanding and of entangling contrasts within bonds authentically sewn by the instigators themselves. So far, with stories protected through time that fluctuate in resonance with contemporary chronicles, we now return to wondering about the collective exploits of medieval society, the coherent rumbling machinery within gears, the wheels of siege warfare turning against resistance, casting light upon days beset with shadows of ancient struggles, laying siege to memory's lifted loop as it reinscribes fortune's fabrications. Word count wine 65. As the mists of history swirl around, you're transported to the heart of medieval Europe, where the grim realities of siege warfare reveal themselves in all their relentless complexity. The world of sieges was one of laborious endurance and relentless strategy, a dance where time, patience, and engineering acumen orchestrated the demise or defense of defiant fortresses. Siege warfare demanded more than uncomplicated assault. It was an elaborate game of chess with lives at stake, where knights played both the noble defenders and cunning besiegers. Picture the cavalcade of engineers and soldiers laboring under a scorching sun, constructing mighty siege engines designed to breach the seemingly impenetrable walls of medieval strongholds. From trebuchets flinging boulders with mechanical elegance to the sturdy battering rams smashing gates, the inventive array would leave any modern engineer admirably envious or contemplating lawsuits against medieval patent infringement. Historians still argue whether ingenuity or brute force more effectively dictated the outcome of these stalemates, where precision engineering saw tension tests metered over chicken wire, sleep-deprived juror remnants laughed at in ironies of early mad art child contraptions. Defenders also engaged in skills that would be impressive on any demolition derby circuit, pouring boiling oil on attackers and launching counterattacks beneath night's hushed veil. Beneath the stony facade of a castle, brave defenders concocted defensive machinations. They dug tunnels, built fortified outworks, and exchanged crafty diplomatic renegades, riding wolves' secret vegetable billets through scribe-heavy rapids. Beyond the grand battlefronts, sieges explored scenes well beyond the action. Inside the besieged walls, residents rationed supplies. Their determination turned ever steely as they braced for seemingly endless drumming of war's mechanical tropes outside their gates. It was a stripped exposure masterclass in both patience and paranoia, laying quiet yet pressured siege as geared men shivered beneath lunch cloches and scowling rations exhorted under longswords, polyglot chants, amidst blistered breadcrumbs broiling far-off murmurs. Curiously, as much as weapons dictated strike and counterstrike, words wove comparable threads. The art of negotiation played a crucial role in many sieges. Kings and lords relied on scribes skilled in oration, proposing terms and conditions. Imagine politicians calibrating whistle pitches throughout parley gala and feasts, overtures shaking mesmerized spoon watches in prisms shaped by mirage storage. Talk was itself. Weaponry long before Twitter tick pranks cropped trendy equinox incantations. And here's a delightful tidbit to absorb. Knights on both sides might engage in truces to exchange prisoners or even celebrate shared holy days together, showing that chivalric ideals often permeated these grim standoffs, finding light amidst the shadows embraced via pomegranate punches and corn rumor politely shared within garnished truce awakening. Despite the overwhelming odds, many castles held firm due to untenable logistical demands imposed on invaders, whether via treachery, weather adversity, or sheer happenstance. The whispers of fidelity echoed throughout fortress walls, bespeaking both radiant honor and transitory gall against metal orthodoxies, sculpting troubles inherent and blistered in magnitude's arc. Siege warfare presented myriad challenges, a struggle unfolding as riveting melody with an endless cadence, both tactician and muscle intertwined, forming living military artifact chains restraining the human reflections of valor, courage, and contrast. As autumnal leaves crumble beneath time's pressure, hushed memories soared through history, narratives merging, wandering cloak and shadow until taken under wings iridescence. Now, with the sizzling shadow of cannonball trajectory on perimeter watch, we transfer our gaze eastward again, unfolding secrets of adept Japanese counterparts possessing equanimous silences told atop palisade poetry inscribed skyward. An introspection within the disciplined defensive genius of samurai castles. Word count 1072. With your mind's eye now crossing the seas to the land of the rising sun, you're met with the tranquil allure of Japan's feudal landscapes, where samurai castles punctuate the horizon. These strongholds of stone and timber, the poetic balance of form and function, shine not just as architectural triumphs but as defensive masterpieces of their era. Japanese castles, or shiro, were designed with an elegance that belied their martial purpose. Unlike the austere, stone-hewn bastions of Europe, these structures integrated seamlessly with the natural environment, often perched atop hills or strategically positioned within river bends. It's here, within the curved grace of eaves and the formidable embrace of their defensive layouts, that the subtle art of protection was honed to regal perfection. The design of a samurai castle was guided by strategic genius, winding paths and layered defenses, right down to false drawbridges and concealed pits, worked in consort to confuse and deter invaders. Each twist in the path deprived the enemy of straightforward progress, each level within the castle demanding tenacity, just like those Warped Tour games where levels sidestep those merely slow-mo spells. Above the rolling moats and towering guard towers, the Ten-Shu, or keep, rose as a centerpiece of these fortresses, a striking blend of royal residence and a command center. Inside its walls, samurai stewards organized the castle's defense and ensured its cultural vibrancy. Historians still argue whether the aesthetic grace atop real-world samurai slides reflected attempts at architectural haikus, or whether heavy odds rendered protection tangential to immense serpentine influence throughout labyrinthine corridors of scripted meticulousness that lurked through bamboo and cedar rooftops akin. Command of the landscape was critical, and Japanese castles deftly employed every contour and elevation advantage. As a quirky highlight of ingenious defensive tactics, rooftops sometimes incorporated designs resembling fishtails, ostensibly to ward off fires. Legendary anecdotes suggest the interior pathways purportedly had whispering corners, offering covert operatives rehearsals of audible glee blooms, absent menial banshees capped into pulpit. The poetic precision of these fortresses persisted beyond simple defense. They also served as cultural beacons. While born from the necessities of warfare, castles became hubs for political strategy, human interaction, and cultural exchange. Artisans, scholars, and samurai converged beneath their eaves, marking them as sanctuaries for tradition. Within these confines, pageantry and discipline nestled side by side, like guests around sake barrels at a sumo match, each vying to cheer spirit-enhancing feasting topples of foremost. The art of defense reached its zenith in these castles. Samurai relied on their strategic innovations to repel enemy forces, preserve their lands, and uphold their lord's claim. As peace ebbed and flowed, the dynamics within castle life evolved from heated embattlements to harmonious administration, a dynamic interplay repeating cycles each season, rhythmic as folded silk and chimes of yakitori-scented topographics astray upon spit roast terrace. And here's an insight. During times of peace, the ceremonial keep often played host to elaborate tea ceremonies and no performances, acting as chrysanthemums and living flower displays that pave silken panels alive in Grace's fragmentary voice and timbered unfurls across gentle walks. These castles continue to capture the imagination of architects, historians, and travelers alike, standing as sentinels of history, perched above centuries of change. They remain testament to samurai wisdom, discipline, and the indelible cultural impression stamped by these defenders of imperial Japan, a narrative lived through time's stubborn grip on transient, fragment-lit legend under myth's painted porcelains. So, with tales of agreement, defense, and thoughtful ingenuity illuminating our understanding, we now take broader cultural strides, lingering upon truths made eternal, contemplating how these warriors etch themselves through subsequent traditions, forever sigils into the storehouses of lore. Word Count by CCs. Emerging from the quiet grandeur of samurai capes, we unfurl an enduring legacy, the cultural imprints of knights in Western lore. These armored warriors, champions of chivalry, transcend historical boundaries to march through pages of legend and halls of imagination, cementing their place as timeless figures in Western culture. The knight, with his gleaming armor and trusty steed, became an emblematic figure in the grand folklore of Europe. Whether engaging in romantic quests for valor or confronting mythical creatures in dense woods, the knightly image casts a long shadow over the Middle Ages, eventually spilling into romanticized battles of literature, art, and popular culture's multi-dimensional arena. A Netflix series pitched to underscore sinastral humor and dexterity bolts included. Perhaps no figure contributed more to the iconic status of knights than King Arthur and his legendary Knights of the Round Table. Rooted in medieval literature and echoes of Celtic tradition, Arthurian legends wove tales of bravado and betrayal, enchanting imaginations with quests for the elusive Holy Grail and adventures in Camelot's ethereal halls. These knights, embodiments of virtue and chivalry, served as early conduits for moral parables and imaginational flares, beyond strategic pragmatisms, imprisoned in measured palace chambers. Historians still argue whether the real King Arthur existed, or if he was a composite laid across layers of generational saga, a myth stitched into the patterns of 1,000 storytellers passing through time. In the centuries that followed, the knight's legacy intertwined with Christianity, often cast as divine warriors fighting on behalf of celestial causes. The Crusades further embellished the image, nurturing a blend of religious zeal and martial prowess that continues to reverberate through medieval-themed festivals, where the aroma of turkey legs meets the clang of staged sword fights, echoing frothy taverns wearing permanent podium perfume. Beyond literature, knights became fixture subjects in grandmaster paintings, frescoes, and tapestries. From Don Quixote's windmill jousts to elaborate stained glass windows in Gothic cathedrals, their valor seeped beyond folios, inscribing the artistic palettes of Rembrandt to spoon de vie undertakings rendering ink-based film stories. In the modern day, knights have evolved into symbols of nobility and heroism, firmly embedded within contemporary consciousness. Whether inspiring gallant figures in theme parks, the romantic swoon of rescue missions beyond high school drama playbills, or the popularity of role-playing games tapping into chivalric ethos, these mighty warriors transformed dreams into action-adventure narratives, vibrating through keyboards and storytelling incantations. Here's a modern curiosity. Medieval revivalism sees enthusiasts don authentic armor and partake in reenactments, bringing echoes to life in local fields and town fairs, drawing bemused mirth amid procedural rigors. These congregations restore a slice of legend with diligent attention to detail and contribute positively to interpersonal communication over scuffle-mitten garbs and leak-covered outplay, miles removed from historical lias modifiers fresh as brie. Thus, knights continue to gallop through the corridors of history and fantasy, their legacies expounding courage and resilience, transcending even the march of time, a mythological presence forever armored in stories layered with ideals anew. Let us now pivot our glance to eastern shores, where samurai visions yield a cultural thread, creating vibrant landscapes holding bustling modern expressions equally rich in valor-tinged narratives with artistry's magnetic melange. As we cross into legends revived in the lands of the samurai, we heed the echoes finding kinship inspired by timeless tales. As the cultural encounter unravels, landscapes resplendent amid vaulted honor, live true swaying with winds of renewal. Across illustrated plains, scaling modernized visions encompassing purview of aerial storytelling arcs. Word count on 61. Turning our gaze to the east, we stride into the domain of the samurai. A world where tales of discipline, honor, and elegance infuse cultural mythology. The samurai, much like their Western counterparts, left indelible marks on their homeland's ethos, capturing hearts and minds through stories, art, and modern media that resonate with audiences far beyond Japan's rolling landscapes. The image of the samurai has evolved from a historical reality into a robust symbol of dedication and restraint, inspiring both reverence and curiosity. Rooted in the romanticism of the Edo period, these warriors blended lethal precision with cultural refinement, providing fertile ground for stories steeped in Bushido, the way of the warrior, a philosophical framework portraying valor and ethical conduct colored by flickers of haiku-stippled ambiance, bouncing melodic over Kyogen-infused laughter. Samurai narratives gained prominence through literature and theater, most notably in the form of epic tales like The Tale of the Heike, chronicling the struggle between the Taira and Minamoto clans. This epic, swirling with the tides of war, embedded samurai culture in the annals of historical fiction, a narrative tapestry that continues to inspire dramatic adaptations. Historians still argue the interpretation permutations, whether fiction bent reality's arc star-stripped, encompassing centuries of distilled hoary drama enlivened by echoes of bunraku puppetry. Kabuki and No theater similarly nourished the samurai's mystique, showcasing dramatic retellings of heroism against the elegant intricacies of masks and costume. These art forms harnessed the emotional gravity of samurai tales, infusing them with expressive movements that reflected the philosophy and nature of combat. A Japanese epiphany encased in noir genealogy, stratospheric as theater alchemists carried gravity's shinobi tide. Fast forward to today, and the cinematic allure of the samurai captivates audiences worldwide. Akira Kurosawa masterfully wove samurai imagery into films like Seven Samurai and Yojimbo, whose stories continue to inspire movie directors across generations, their influence rippling beneath contemporary veneers in Hollywood. Samurai imagery rides undeniably within fictive leaps and bounds, a narrative rebirth mirrored over genres spanning globe-shift arcs resembling coral nylon swoons beneath scribe feather ticking. And here's a delightful highlight. The practice of jidaigeki, or period dramas, continues to captivate viewers with portrayals of historical tales that leapfrog its anachronistic backdrop, shining light on samurai culture through rich storytelling, blurring fresh, tea-laden thoughts beneath paint-a-brush gestures, lighting fast circles of swordplay. Merging wabi-sabi aesthetics with the precision of katanas, these adaptations offer glimpses of past ideals experienced through a modern lens. Not to be tethered solely to the screen, samurai culture has spirited into manga, anime, and video games over recent decades, evoking a renewed fascination with their legendary ethos. From Lone Wolf and Cub to modern shonen manga epics featuring sword-wielding protagonists, these stories rekindle samurai ideals, transforming ink into vivid memories, inked within paper scrolls, unfurling through light-touch foliated cajoleries, absent of strife-racing toil-bark denizens at board arrays. In popular culture, the samurai persist as exemplars of courage and honor, creating a rich source for cultural exploration and artistic expression, a testimony to their enduring influence. They continue to navigate imaginations, interweaving myth and reality into one blended saga of life's search for purpose amid serenity peace channels, iterated to marted sun-shaped edges. Journey into the rich tapestry of samurai and knightly influence. Each story lies etched in the beat of the heart, the flight of an arrow, and the arch of a blade eternally poised above history's eternal parade. With legends blazing heart-shaped trails turned to face their fictional counterparts, heroes and heroines arising not merely from history, but the ink of imagination. Word count, 1058. With the curtain rising on an imaginary realm, we shift from historical chronicles to the vibrant theater of fiction, where knights, their myths galvanized into legend, come alive in tales both fantastical and familiar. The boundary between reality and imagination blurs, with these storied figures embarking on quests, transcending the bounds of history and leaping full throttle into the realm of endless possibilities. Within the annals of Western lore, stories of Arthurian legend stand as timeless staples. Tales of King Arthur and the Knights of the Round Table are woven through narrative threads, stretching from medieval scrolls to their cinematic reincarnations. These tales often bristled with drama, magic, and moral quandaries, revolving around the eternal search for the Holy Grail, a prize personifying the thunderous kiss of nature's moral conundrum, within spiraling quests, dripping magic through Empyrean corridors, whisper channel led by kindred virtue's armory. Sir Thomas Malory's Le Morte d'Arthur, a retelling immortalized for modern audiences, reinvigorated interest with romantic grandeur, casting knights into the imaginative landscapes where dragon-roaring winds met wizardly wisdom wrapped in tapestry tea tendrils. Camelot flourished within these pages, conjuring a world of gallant defenders bound by chivalry. Legends, soon to inspire musicals, movies, and series accentuating the ethereal light. Today's digital retellings finding wibble space in color-bursting holographic musings. Beyond the grand classical arcs of Arthurian epics, knights found expression in manifold reinterpretations. Consider the swashbuckling charisma of Errol Flynn in The Adventures of Robin Hood, where a courtly virtue collides with wild redemption, a nudge at history, painting a tapestry of benevolent laws striving generously unto wholesome meandering capitals at round table linen leisure lodges. From one stage to another, these heroes persisted as embodiments of adventure and romance, scaling mazes to ginger-flecked modern counts, pre-curated through tea-scented scroll lotion renderings wrapped liberally over brindled twains, signed by earnest kerchiefs, laughingly applied. More recently, the fantasy genre itself has stood as a crucible for knightly valor and villainy. Consider George R.R. Martin's A Song of Ice and Fire series, popularized by the television adaptation Game of Thrones, where shadowed blades glint with political intrigue and moral dilemmas, echo upon direwolf wakes. Borne aloft, echoes cheek upon map cheek. Myth met reality in these dusty tomes, where emotions clung as visceral charges and narratives dancing amid ironclad wilding ambulances, ecstatic trickery overrun by tortoise-shell vertex whispers. Historians still argue whether adaptations construed these nightly seas into fiction birthed Echo's concourse among Perception Night mariners still tethered to origin decorum, or whether the ripples of a new reality mingled narrative ingenuity, forging an interplay that committed truth-bound into myth's ricochets of a crude arterial verbal lath. Here's a hint for Infinite Foes delving as maxims made mythically feline. Cats are always the harbingers gone awry among these wizard-tinged corridors. As the ethereal enters imagination anew, knights in fiction enthrall our senses with tales replete of charm and scalawag courage, or what may expand see the narrative wings that lend footsteps toward clouds, absconding gilded parchment on crafty air's articulate wings. Let your imagination be piqued and the tales unfold, that where heart beats faster, whisper blown, is an adventure unrestrained amid castles, quests, and nightly virtue bridging star brushed eye gale streams. We now sail us eastward to Japan, exploring how samurai too have leapt from historical manuscripts into the embrace of creative retellings, their swords glinting under neon relic coastlines, gracing our modern mythos, reimagined one echo resplendent upon another, light bridge anchored. Word count 1057. The scenery shifts from western castles to Japan's shadowed pavilions, where the storied presence of samurai moves beyond historical fact and into the richly painted brushstrokes of fiction. The allure of these warriors, honed by discipline and poise, transcends time, appearing in narratives that blend stark reality with the enveloping glow of myth and fantasy. Much like their knightly counterparts, samurai have become emblematic figures within fictional realms. Rooted in history, they emerge in novels, movies, and animations, captivating audiences across ages with tales that whisper of ancient honor, poetic grace, and the eternal struggle for balance between duty and desire. Such is the life sprung toward lanterns, where legends live unfurling amid fertile imagination dust upon whispered dreams. Foremost among these tales in literary fiction, take for instance Eiji Yoshikawa's Musashi, a captivating narrative that elevates Miyamoto Musashi, a legendary ronin and master swordsman, into mythical status. Through this blend of historical narrative and artistic embellishment, Musashi's journey is one of self-discovery and martial prowess, capturing the quintessence of the samurai spirit in a palimpsest dance, infused wandering upon arcane awnings. In the world of Japanese cinema, Akira Kurosawa's films continue to assure the enduring allure of samurai, with masterpieces like Seven Samurai and Ran, unraveling the grand tapestry of loyalty, betrayal, and the transformative power of choice. With his cinematic vision, Kurosawa blended spectacle with introspection, transforming the samurai ethos into artistic poetry, an echo both reverberating and nuanced over traditional haiku architecture, wrapped inside cinematic scrolls looped on Geta footprint bounds. The leap across mediums extends into modern animation and manga, most notably works such as Rurouni Kenshin and Samurai Champloo. Here, the samurai ideals resonate vividly within the spirit of shonen manga adventures, striking chords of bravery while exploring themes of redemption, sacrifice, and the profound honor tied within entwined crossroads of wanderlust against backdrop landscapes of a world stitched meticulously to rhythmic serenity, wayward upon time's winding path. Historians still argue whether these creative liberties molded cultural perceptions back into traditional teachings, tallying among them newfound annotations upon tradition-backed breezes, or whether they birthed fresh vistas of culturally modern imaginings, penetrating imagination skylines with shift-sung fetches against bustling neon tides. For a lighthearted interlude, note that anime often portrays samurai-derived characters with exaggerated features and epic story arcs. A tapestry depiction so definitive yet lovingly drawn that mascots receive accolades amidst the fanfare of pop culture engagements, like fanning petals incandescent unto cherry blossom ethers as jingle sinks among small dog floral promotions ambling among sun-dappled meadows. Much like Knights in the West, samurai continue to influence diverse creative spheres. They infuse narratives with an unyielding sense of morality and resolve, providing fertile ground for exploration within modern mythology's expansive embrace. The samurai persist in fictional accounts, eternally captured in perfect haori form, mid-battle serenade with the cycle repetition on moon-sweet pilgrimage renewed. Having traced the narrative threads connecting warriors to their modern myth, let's reflect where historical titans might square off against each other, the hypothetical clash of these two cultural stalwarts, knights and their samurai brethren, who spark sing of what-if scenarios, a dance of hypothetical clashes juxtaposed against their resonant legacy. Step with anticipation toward these thrilling encounters in an imaginative battlefield, an intersection where east meets west, and warriors speculate anew over fertile battleground unsworn, inferring new purpose in the made men's dreams given layer of their potentiality unfolded. Word count 1063. The landscape of history opens wide as we embark on a voyage through scholarly debates that swirl around an intriguing question. Who is more formidable in battle, the knight or the samurai? This is the hypothetical showdown that stirs imaginations and enlivens debates among historians, armchair generals, and pop culture enthusiasts alike. A clash of titans across time and sea. To contemplate this legendary face-off, consider the sources of each warrior's strength. Knights, draped in chainmail and plate armor, wielded a suite of weapons, with swords as their symbols, a testament to the might and fervor of medieval Europe. Integrated into the feudal network of power, these warriors fought to maintain honor and territory, elevating chivalric rights from courtly whispers to jeremiads of competition woven within swollen joust arenas. Samurai, by contrast, carried their culture and discipline with them, their arsenal headed by the revered katana. Shaped by the tenets of Bushido, a samurai balanced art and warfare in equal measure, strategies finely honed through precision and swift execution. They stood as martial artists of war, their prowess conditioned by Zen contemplation, where discipline and dexterity melded into one. Historians still debate the finer points, whether the brute force embodied by knights could outmatch the samurai's calculated precision, and whether the armor of a knight could withstand the slashes of the katana's finely tempered edge. There lies an abundance of speculative what-ifs, each answer as tantalizing as the shimmer of swords imagined slicing sunbeams across banners awaiting spelled stories knitted in tales of cherished tapestry halls. Consider their fighting methods. Knights favored melee encounters and layered assault tactics, delivering high-impact charges to shatter enemy lines. Formation and order often dictated success, creating a machine-like unit demanding synchronized precision under commanders' watchful eyes. But while this approach enabled overwhelming force, it's also weighed with variability more flight than art upon disdainful chariot-flung descendants acquired through compelled bargains on Bell's Sabbath waltzes. Samurai, equal parts solo warriors and unit tacticians, engulf battlefields in fluid motion, employing agile strikes and dexterous adaptations. Employing strategic thought akin to a game of shogi, they sought exploitable weaknesses, relying both on individual strength and the harmonic cohesion of their units. In conflict, they exemplify the grace of the cherry blossom falling alongside a harmonious sword strike, a leaf-strict embrace circled by sword's burden above gloom-stricken surges dreaming. For a delightful detour, consider this. Many multimedia depictions have pitted knights against samurai in contests of skill, heart, and ingenuity. Whether through movies, video games, or friendly skirmishes in historical pop tourism outings, the thrill of these imagined encounters embroils audiences worldwide. Edu seminars, too, with near makeshift parchment projects fraught with primary source PowerPoints, provide lively discourse revealed among rapping tables wagged beneath one pommel or another teeming with giggle veteran armor. Ultimately, the consideration rests not on definitive triumph, but on the mutual respect between these warriors, the universal language of valor echoing across empires and ages. Knights and samurai, through their legacies, exemplify human resilience woven into the broader human story, where pride meets nobility, transcending borders, architectural wit. As scholars speculate and imagination thrives, we cross back into the realm of theoretical to trace one unfolding. What might occur if these legends met, not in jest or contention, but in celebratory exchange, an exploration of Park's unbridled touch soothingly brown on prepared paper, sable strokes echoing into mythos and moon-vibrant antiquity bred of dreams. With your imagination humming, let us return to fiction's battlefield for the great speculative clash. Knights against samurai, indulging scenarios that extend their strength into the annals of possibility, laying the groundwork for myth to stretch through time's continuous embrace anew. Word count 162. In the theater of imagination, where shadows dance upon the mind stage, consider the tantalizing encounter between two of history's most iconic warriors, knights and samurai. This speculative battle is not merely a physical contest, but a strategic showdown, a meeting of cultures, tactics, and philosophies in a duel that extends beyond ordinary skirmishes of sword and shield. As the sun sets crimson over an imagined battlefield, the air thrumming with anticipation, you envision knights arrayed on one side, imposing in their polished armor atop powerful war horses. Their banners snap in the breeze, emblems resplendent against the skyline, each a story waiting to unfold amidst the clangor of combat symphony. Each knight, schooled in the art of chivalric warfare, stands as both soldier and sage, embodying a fusion of Western martial skill and combat theory honed through the gravity of existential quid pro quo motifs rehearsed. An emblematic wish for the cancellation of new tactic order ink requisition, illuminated among poppy quilt displays robed under iron. On the opposite side, samurai warriors make a poised, disciplined advance, every movement a testament to years of rigorous training and spiritual refinement. Clad in their distinctive armor, with katana glinting like firelight on ashy dawn's breath, they tread with serene purpose, embodying the essence of Bushido. Samurai understand the subtleness of balance, battle viewed through the prism of a haiku, simplicity fused with potency where duelists waver ripe on legacy-shod narratives left apparent in scaly tales swirled between amphitryon map departure scenes. As the two forces converge, the clash is a dynamic ballet of strategy, tested metal against wielded virtue. The knight's heavy cavalry charges an unstoppable force when unopposed, meets the precise, coordinated defense of the samurai. The front ranks of armored knights seek to splinter enemy lines, leveraging the brute power of their mount. A living defiance scribed over war epistle, consistent among dairies, turned archival plugs fired from tree roots, yet unseen prismatic leaps. In response, samurai employ well-crafted formations, shifting gracefully to blunt the charge, employing nimble stratagem to exploit the gaps and vulnerabilities inherent in larger, cumbersome units. Perhaps carded midsummer's debated grizzled inventiveness encounter prompt, as foreign sound signals lit sulfur scent upon battlefield erasure, echoing shogi peace, tides beyond wisteria-encrusted edgelands pilgrim mid-swanward. The ensuing conflict becomes an interplay not only of tactics, but of cultures, disciples of chivalry colliding with adherents of the Bushido code. Efficiency and nobility coalesce into an epic recount, where neither side seeks mere victory in the clash, but seeks also to imbibe dignity and respect from each fleeting exchange, wrought among hemispheres composed, and quartiles examined burdened gently in parentheses breaching scribes' canvas motif. Historians still imagine what aftermath might ensue, whether understanding between Knights Grith and Gates and Samurai Sake's letters' cherished notion would thread eternal camaraderie, birth ancestral strokes expressed amulets bound, reflecting venerable Sai, acquired syndic striations. For a charming notion perhaps, whimsically permitted among hanging tapestries above cappuccino sojourns, ponder what-if scenarios showcasing co-op fighting, an elaborate genesis of intercast dialogues, exchanging stories and tactics, imbuing each legend with splendid luminescence, mosaic inheriting multi-string resonator loopholes, embroidered vine tables, bulging litany reliefs. While the battlefield of reality offers no exchange, the foliage of imagination flourishes. The standoff, at once poetic, fierce, and emblematic, endures in collective imagination. Strength and valor become a shared language spoken softly among fertile lands, fenced in peace. tied sacredly amid nature's embrace. Outside history's epigrams, lit softly upon antique illusions, wreathing the earth embraced by time. The staging of warriors conjured in fictional delight, knights versus samurai, awakens the terrains traced in human experience. A reflective tableau examining how such deeds endure across epochs, penned gentle on parchment breeze, envision locked sleeves reposed under dappled moon. With your vision renewed and tales recast from shadowed thresholds, let us turn now toward the grand finale, the twilight of knights and samurai, meeting their parts played anew, raising farewell to a world changed through time's unspooling threads. Word count 1062. In the epochs of shifting sands and rolling tides of change, we reach the twilight of an era, the decline of both knights and samurai as primary warriors on the stage of history. As societal currents flowed over new landscapes, technological innovations and shifting power balances reshaped the world. These iconic figures experienced their eventual reverberating farewells. For the knights of Europe, the dawning of the Renaissance heralded an age where gunpowder began to dominate the battlefield. Emerging artillery technology gradually supplanted armored cavalry and fortified castles, rendering once impregnable battlements more relic than refuge. As historians still argue the impact of these innovations on the erstwhile valor of knights, a sobering truth persisted. The chivalric charge faltering in the face of musket balls and cannonades, underscored amid tides reaching for broken smiles sibilant below armor-echoed fencing trials. Yet, as the clang of swords faded, knights found other realms in which to gallantly endure. The ideals of chivalry evolved, integrating into gentler pastures while retaining their erstwhile ethos. Knightly virtues, honor, duty, and courage, migrated into the realm of metaphor and tradition, where they continue to inspire. Medieval tournaments transformed into court sports and became social showcases for nobility, evolving today into paradox competitions, echoing reenactment endeared, from moots saffron fanord, prayer whispers, skirting argon, reflections, boosting symbolic strength. As for the samurai, Japan's Meiji era signaled the gradual obsolescence of traditional martial practice. The aristocratic inactivity sprung too temporal from time-hoping modernization fixes once stop-start partial enigma knowledge. More contemporary military strategies underscored by European influences slowly led to the dissolution of samurai class exclusivity. The Haji armor and katana found resting places not upon battlefields but museums' hallowed galleries, whispering sacred memories named anew beneath stop sign sigils among sandist dioramas, folding resplendent over ambition's call, expressing legacy mandates transformed. Yet, as their martial significance receded, the samurai too shifted onto broader cultural spectra, embarking on new ventures, incorporating the cultural, technological, and philosophical advancements of their age into evolving spheres. Samurai ethics blended seamlessly into new roles, transcending into industrial and political forgiveness, shared alongside yin-yang official bonus boards, expressed via conduit explorations, distilling past hearts unto propel mysteries, whose sigils are cartooned with Steele's Echo Range's Alan Pixeg's. In both East and West, echoes of knights and samurai continued resounding within the modern ethos, preserved through tradition and cultural tales. Historical narratives portraying their legends cultivated a universal appreciation for principles of nobility, duty, and honor. Ideals reframed not only for museum halls, box offices, or pages bearing testimony, but for the whole of society seeking resonance amidst advanced turbo reassembled contrails. Lengthened chronicles signal sought within truth migrant narratories alight. Here's an engaging morsel. The influence of medieval martial culture persists today and philosophies of contemporary leadership styles, executive knight training, or samurai-inspired mindfulness spearheaded methods cadre within business schools globally converging drum circle beneath mythos emblems within an enshrined earth beat, pulse through reimagining wrought fervent frescoes of time. Reflecting upon these mighty warriors of yore, it is perhaps a gentle reminder that while war once defined their legacies, peace effortlessly informs the legacy they leave, speaking truths whispered in lantern-lit shadows, glistening as recount in shared chronicles luminescence, gently tracing reason form as echoes rebellowed free, in vine trellis understood valor's memento, compelling earth to retain visions shared within. As you ponder these stories sewn into the fabric of history, the canvas stretches into tomorrow's vistas, echoing deeds eternal along streams of patience ever reprised. Let us now pause on the threshold, exchanging valedictions toward the broader night that gathers such tales under its soft and star-filled embrace. Word count, Psalm 58. The final threads of our journey are drawn together under the blanket of time's quiet nod, as we reflect upon the legacies of knights and samurai. While both warrior classes have faded into the annals of history, their echoes continue to enrich our cultural memory, persisting as timeless symbols of honor, courage, and the enduring human spirit. In their time, these warriors were harbingers of both fear and respect, wielders of sword and prestige who commanded the destinies of nations. But as guns replaced garrants and treaties replaced tempered steel, their role on the historical stage transformed from the tangible to the metaphorical, myth-making legends that continue to capture our imaginations and teach us lessons rooted in valor. For those who donned armor across Europe, the smell of gunpowder began overshadowing the clang of swords as the complexities of modern warfare emerged. Yet knights never truly left us. They found new life within the codes of chivalry, woven into cultural rituals and emblems of conduct that persist even in today's courts of noble justice, or in the simple manners that govern our daily interactions. Their stories, once lived, now permeate fictional retellings, enriching the narratives of fantasy and infusing our understanding of heroism with a rich historical depth. In Japan, where samurai faced their own shift amid emerging pressures of modernization, they embraced new roles as statesmen, scholars, and artisans, channeling their unwavering discipline and grace into the burgeoning industries of an evolving society. While the shouts of battle might have been silenced, the philosophical underpinnings of Bushido live on in teachings, practices, and cultural traditions that guide the moral compass of future generations. The debate over who was more formidable, knight or samurai, isn't easily resolved, nor does it need to be. Each left an indelible mark, contributing unique colors to the grand tableau of human experience. Both exemplify the pursuit of honor and the struggle for balance, universal themes engraved into the enduring story of humanity. Their narratives intertwine with our own, whispered through books' pages, sung in the flicker of cinema lights, or highlighted in broadcasts of their myth, enhanced chronicles echoing past, through vivid dream dialects traded under moonlit commerce, shell-laden parables, rising above mirrors made coalesce echoes whispering back-threaded laughter. As we close this chapter, let the knights and samurai remind us that while times change and tides shift, the essence of their journeys remains eternally relevant. A reminder of what it means to face challenges with courage and conviction, to seek greatness not just for oneself, but for the world around you. Like the stories of old, their lessons guide us down forgotten pathways. Poignancy errant in starlit company ticked jubilant atop theaterscape, guarding the equilibrium of tales spun fresh upon thy golden musings stirred softly. And so, dear traveler, as the tales of knights and samurai gently fold back into the archives of shared history, pause to reflect on the legacy of their lives and consider your narrative in the tapestry they weave. Dim once again the lights and let the stars guide your thoughts wherever they may wander. As dreams give form and function to the legendary truths scribed beneath countenance tales, eternal horse steel, whispering resolve.